said it before, inking, coloring, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, what's the most appealing aspect? Do you like the writing? Do you like the actual drawing, the actual sketching of the characters? Like, what
right now, my I'm collaborating with a colleague on a comic strip that we're launching in the spring nationwide, and I'm sort of doing my favorite thing in this collaboration. I'm doing a lot of the writing, and it's not in a comic strip. I wouldn't really call it writing. I would call it idea generation or something, because writing makes it sound like it's a long, lengthy process, whereas comic strips are so tiny and small that there's not a lot of lengthy writing that goes on, but there is a lot of trying to create ideas which are working. That part I love, and I'm also handling the inking, which I love, and I mean, on my own work I like everything except the promotion, which, but on this project, which is a little bit of both of us, I'm having a good time just doing the inking and just doing the sort of like idea crafting and stuff like that.
Are you welcoming the break from worrying about everything else?
Yeah.
In the comic?
Right now, yeah, it's really, yeah, it's fun. It's coming out good. It's a good collaboration. But that comic strip deadline is really ruthless. And even though we haven't even launched yet, I really should be able to take a break, but my like manic nervous energy won't let me do it. We're going to launch in the spring, March, April, something like that, maybe even May. But we're still constantly like coming up with strips to sort of have in the archive, to have ready for the launch. And like if I get a moment of free time, even if I'm caught up with a dedicated time we've set aside to, like, okay, we want to have 7 strips this week and 7 strips that week. Even if I already got 7 strips, and I've got some free time, I've got a couple hours, I'm like, I got to write more strips. It's a mania, it's a panic. And so the point being is that hopefully if this calms down and when it's not new maybe, I'll settle into doing some other work that's maybe slower, longer, larger, and all my own, where I'm penciling everything myself and doing all the other stuff. But right now, I'm focused on that strip. It makes me crazy, and I'm mostly writing and inking. But I like the inking, I really do. I wasn't always that person. I used to know a lot of cartoonists way back when, and I mean, I know a lot of cartoonists, but back when I was just starting out, I remember some people saying, "Oh, you know, the inking's the only thing I like," and that's like you get to really zone out. And I remember thinking, that's not like, I'm not that way at all. It's like the inking's really hard, and the penciling's really hard too. I mean, it's all really hard. But I sort of got to that point where the inking is a sort of joyous meditation on what's on the page visually already there.
That's a pretty important aspect to any comic.
Sure.
Absolutely. Hutch Owen and Trunkdown, how did these originate?
Hutch Owen is this sort of homeless guy who sort of stands up to society to some degree and tries to live according to his own ideals, you know. And I can trace him back to a thing my mother said. I don't know how old I was, 15, 16, maybe, and this was like a what are you going to do with your life sort of conversation, and I was like, you know, and I looked around me and I didn't see anybody happy. And I was like, I'm not going to do any of these things. And my mom says, well, you know, you can't just be a bum. And I don't know if I answered her at the time, but certainly in my mind I was like, yes, I can. Yes, I can. And that's where it started, for sure. At that point, there was like this splintered off part of me that went to bum world, and I always sort of like, yeah. And then at some point, I mean, it probably wasn't until 5 or 6 years after that I sort of like, he came out in paper and started becoming a part of a comic, and then eventually just sort of grew and became this thing I sort of nurtured and tried to understand and let stay free and all that stuff. So that's